It is Tuesday, which means it is time for Pete Prisco's NFL Power Rankings, presented by Geico. It feels good to Geico. And hey, if you are the Patriots, it feels good to be the new number one. There you see all 32 teams laid out for you. The Patriots moving into that top spot. They've now won 10 in a row. The Broncos surviving overtime against the Commanders. What is it about Washington and going to OT, man? Some movers and shakers along the way. We've also got tiers when it comes to Pete Prisco's Power Rankings. So on this opening segment, we're going to break down 3 tiers for you. Of course, I mentioned the new number one, that is the New England Patriots. We've also got a couple of teams chasing championships. Remember, the Broncos were the number one overall seed in the AFC for like 5 minutes. They moved down to number 2, followed by the Rams, who just lost to the Panthers. And we've also got the playoffs loading, teams that maybe won't be in that top portion of the AFC playoff picture, but certainly can make a case. All right, we've got the crew, Mr. Pete Prisco himself joining us. We've got Douzable to my left and a special guest down here in South Florida.
He's never been called a special guest at this company ever.
I'm calling him a special guest right now. Our John Breech is in the house.
Well, guys, I usually sit at home on Tuesdays and debate with myself about Prisco's Power Ranking, so I'm glad to actually be here and to talk to the man himself.
Who wins when you debate?
You don't want to know,
Prisco.
Prisco.
I'd love to see that.
It's an internal battle.
I'd love to see it.
I always love getting to see where these teams move and shake out each and every week. We are, of course, starting at the top. I do have a stat that I want to throw at you guys, and it matters, I promise. Year 2 quarterbacks have combined to win 24 straight starts this season. Drake May, of course, has the most. You also have Bo Nix mixed in there. Caleb Williams, too. So we're going to start with Drake May because he has the most of all of those quarterbacks I just listed for you. We talked on Sunday, Pete, about the MVP race and what he's been able to do. Still hasn't thrown for 300 yards, and yet this team looks like the best in the NFL right now.
And he has moved to the front of the MVP race. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, after what Stafford did on Sunday, look, they're tough, they're physical, they're violent, and he can make all the throws. And you have a great coach. When you add that team together, that combination, you're going to win a lot of games, and that's what they've done. Now, having said that, I think the playoffs are going to go through Foxborough in the AFC. But having said that, I don't necessarily think that they're one of those teams when you look at them, you go, oh, you fear them when you go in there. Like if Buffalo can go in there, or Baltimore gets hot and can go in there, or even if Kansas City made the playoffs, you would think, or Cincinnati makes the playoffs, you would think that they'd have a chance to go in there and beat them. But I love where they're headed. They're a year ahead where I thought they would be.
Breech?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you're right about that, Pete, that anybody could go in there. This is the number 1 overall seed, but you don't and the number 1 team in your power rankings, but you don't necessarily feel comfortable that they can beat anyone and everyone. I mean, just looking at your top 5, who would you pick if they played the Rams on a neutral field? Probably Rams. They played the Seahawks on a neutral field.
Probably Seahawks.
Right, so that's where the Patriots are right now. Where, like you said, you have a great head coach, you have a franchise quarterback, a budding franchise quarterback in Drake May, so you feel good about the team this year, and you feel good about their future, but I don't know if I feel good about them winning the Super Bowl, but I'm okay with them at the top, Pete. I like it.
Yeah, I don't mind them being at 1 now. I would probably put Denver maybe a little bit ahead of them.
You and your Denver.
You're such a hater. He's a hater for Denver, right?
By the way, if they get it over the top of Nick Benito's hands, it's a loss for the Broncos.
If it was a fifth, we'd all be
against
drunk.
a bad Washington.
If it was a fifth,
they
we'd
didn't
all
play
be
well in that
drunk.
game. You wouldn't say they played well.
No, their defense didn't play well at all, but Bowman made the plays he needed. But we're talking about the Patriots right now. You're right, Pete. Drake May is definitely leading the MVP race. The interesting thing is he leads the NFL in completion percentage, but it's not like he's checking the ball down. He's throwing the ball down the field. I mean, that throw to Kyle Williams was out of this world, where he put it where only Kyle Williams could catch it. And that was great concentration by the rookie himself to catch that. I've talked to a lot of receivers. That's the hardest catch, the over-the-shoulder catch. His mobility is what is different and stands, makes him stand out from other quarterbacks. Drake May has really savvy pocket awareness. That's where he's taking his maturation this year, Pete, as far as maneuvering up in the pocket. You never see him drift back. He always maneuvers, looking downfield, and if nothing's there, he's athletic enough to run. He outran Abdul Carter. I mean, Abdul Carter is one of the fastest guys coming out in this draft. And then when you look at this, I know people will talk about the offense in Drake May, but this defense, this is a defensive-minded head coach. You talked about it, Pete. They are physical, they are big, they are tough. They probably have the best trio at corner in all of football. And when you look at them on this 10-game win streak, they've been holding teams to around 17 points per game. During this 10-game win streak, they've scored at least 23 points in every single game. And I'm like, Pete, I thought they'd be a year away. This team is a tough contender. And you said things might go through Foxborough. I don't know if people want to go up there and play them for how they're playing right now. Like, again, anytime you have a defense that can play that type of brand, and then you can also run the ball with Travion Henderson and also Ramondre Stevenson, and you have a MVP caliber quarterback, you got a legit shot.
Don't forget that guy, Stephon Diggs, really has seen his career come to life as well. It's interesting, too, when we talk about the Patriots, and I mentioned the Bears earlier. Those two teams combined for a 9-25 record last year, and yet both of them are currently sitting atop of their respective conferences. So when we give flowers to the Patriots, we also have to do the same for the Bears. They went 5-0 in the month of November for the first time in like 66 years. So obviously they're cooking. Pete, you have them at 6, coming off of what was just an absolute mauling of the defending champions on Friday.
Just brutalized.
Pushed them around, everything.
And you would never know that Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis were in that game. They just got brutalized. I mean, they got mauled. Like, yeah, I use that word a lot, but they got mauled. It was really a terrible performance by the Eagles, but a great performance. And the way they ran the ball, the wham blocks, it was just so creative with how he runs the football. Yeah. I love where they're headed. Again, they're another team. I think they're a year ahead right now. And when you look at both those teams, coach. Look at Ben Johnson. Look what he's done for Caleb Williams. You look at what Mike Vrabel has done for Drake May, and I think that's the biggest difference.
What do you think of Ben Johnson taking his shirt off in the locker?
I love it.
I mean, look, Ben Johnson's a fiery guy. He's going to do some crazy things.
And when you speak about these new coaches, and obviously Ben Johnson is a first-time head coach, but Mike Vrabel's a second-time head coach, but this is his first year with the Patriots. You talk about culture. Like, that's what they've brought into both of these programs. You talked about, 9-25 combined last year? 25. And both of these teams are top of the NFC and AFC. Like, who had that penciled in the beginning of the year? That shows you how important coaching is. Getting to Caleb Williams in this offense, who have struggled throwing the ball. I love that Ben Johnson's self-aware, because he comes out, Pete, and he says, we're winning in spite of our passing game. That's a coach that knows that there's more work to do, that they're not satisfied at all. And you talked about it. You said that they ran the ball down. They bludgeoned the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. I haven't seen too many people do that to the Philadelphia Eagles. And it was a combination of physicality and eye candy. Ben Johnson is one of the most inventive play callers. He's going to give you something to look at. That way that offensive line can move you off the line of scrimmage, and Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift can have their way in the run game. Pete, we've been saying, when is that shoe dropping for these guys? Maybe it's not going to drop.
This week.
You think it's going to drop?
Yeah,
this is the Packers, right?
Breech, let me ask you this while we're on the subject there, because to your point, they are taking on the Packers. It's going to be a big one to see which Packers team shows up, but also a big test for the Bears. Pete has them at number 6 this week. Tell me your analysis, but also tell me, do you expect them to go up or down in next week's power ranking?
I expect them to go down. Look, they've already hit the nail on the head. Ben Johnson's completely turned around that team. He went in there and he took his recipe from Detroit, which is let's run, and that's going to help our quarterback, and that's going to kind of set up the pass. And that's what Leger just mentioned, is that now they have this rushing attack. They have these two guys that have just been tearing it up. I mean, you find a rookie 7th rounder who's carrying the team while DeAndre Swift was out. That's amazing, amazing find, one of the steals of the draft. And one of the big questions with them was what's going to happen when they play a physical team? Because before they played the Eagles on Black Friday, they really hadn't done that. And you wondered what was going to happen. Well, they punched the Eagles in the mouth. They bullied the bullies. And that's just what you don't really see. Now, that being said, the reason I think they're going to drop next week in Prisco's power rankings is because they haven't faced one of the top defenses in the NFL. In terms of the top 7 scoring defenses, the Bears haven't faced any of them. When you look at the 6 teams that have given up less than 300 yards per game, the Bears haven't faced any of them. So they really haven't faced that stiff defensive test. We heard Ben Johnson complain about the passing game. Is Caleb Williams going to be able to carry that team when the Packers go in there and shut down the rushing attack? That's what they did to Detroit twice this year. They beat the Lions. I think that's going to be their defensive game plan against the Packers, and it's going to be up to Caleb Williams to carry them.
I would say this, Pete. Another thing that we talked about when we talked about the Bears, is it sustainable, them turning people over at the rate they're turning them over? They continue to do it. Right now, they lead the NFL.
That usually hides flaws, though.
It does, but every game they've been able to do it. Like I said, they're leading the league right now with 2.2 turnovers per game. So even if they give the ball away, they're still +1 in a turnover margin. So to me, if they're going to upset the Green Bay Packers, they're going to have to get a turnover or 2 on defense.
And that defense will be tested because, to your point and to everyone's point, they're playing the Packers on Sunday.
If they keep Jordan Love set free, keep him free and loose.
He likes him playing free.
football around.
I can't wait to talk about this next team.
And
He
if
always
the
talk about
Bears
playing
win-
somebody free.
I know.
Pete's going to take his shirt off if the Bears win.
No, he's not.
Hey, let's pencil that in Sunday.
he's
Game
not.
day.
I
love
Let's
that.
see if we
I
can
love
sort it
that.
out.
No, he's not.
Obviously, the Packers, Pete, for now, you're still rolling with them to represent the NFC in the playoff picture. If we go to the other side of your matchup, you still have the Bills representing the AFC. They had a big win, I'm going to call it that. Josh Allen made some history along the way. They controlled time of possession, I believe, as well. They dominated the run game without both of their offensive tackles. So they did some good things, but you dropped them a couple of spots.
Yeah, there was a couple things in that game. The passing game bothers me. It still continues to bother me. The play calling bothers me. And look, they got away with it because they talking about a team that mauled somebody.
Yeah.
They moved Pittsburgh with backup tackles off the line of scrimmage all night long. So you didn't have to throw the football. But even when they came out in that game, they didn't know they were going to run the ball. What did they do? And the play calling has become very predictable. Run, bubble screen to the side, and then go ask Josh Allen to make a play on third down. That is not a formula that wins you a Super Bowl. And look, you can run the ball, and I think they need to run the ball, don't get me wrong, but at some point they're going to have to get chunk plays in the passing game or they're going to go home early.
So I'm rubbing my hands together because me and Pete Haley, we've had this discussion since the beginning of the year. I keep saying for the Bills to have the success that they need to have, James Cook has to be the focal point. And Pete keeps saying they need to let Josh Allen free, let him play loose.
You're not winning a Super Bowl that way.
They don't have the personnel to do that. I keep trying to tell you that. No, they do not. Not at receiver. You have to understand, Khalil Shakir has not been healthy for a majority of the year. They're finally starting to get him the ball. It's because he hasn't been healthy. They don't have guys that can win on the outside like that. When you turn on the tape, nobody wins in press man coverage. So how can you ask the quarterback to go play loose if guys can't win one-on-one situations?
If you could scheme guys open in the middle of the field.
But you can only scheme up guys so often.
I don't buy that.
All I got to say is they bludgeoned them for 240 on the ground, and they won the game convincingly.
Well, okay, that's a different. When are you going to run for 240 on a regular basis?
But James Cook is the second leading rusher in the NFL, Pete. What are we talking about?
They're not winning a Super Bowl that way, particularly with their defense.
I'd love to hear from John Breech.
I was going to say, I guess I'll be the deciding vote. Should we let Josh Allen freelance, or should we just keep feeding James Cook? I think you need to let Cook cook. I'm on Legay's side. This year, Josh Allen is a phenomenal quarterback, top 3 in the NFL, but this year's Bills roster is at its best when James Cook is running the ball because, like Legay just said, they just don't have the personnel to sling it. And I don't know if Joe Brady realized it or just kind of lucked into it, but he did take this complicated playbook, and you're essentially right. He said, you know what, we're just going to run these 3 plays. We had T.J. Watt after the game Sunday say they just ran the same play 50 straight times, and we couldn't stop it. And if you can't stop it, why stop doing it?
That was great for that game.
You are Mr. Run the ball and play defense. That's how you win in January,
That was great for that. That was great for that game, but you can't count on that consistently.
Well, and Pete, we also talked about they've had issues on the defensive side. Like now, Joey Bosa had a big sack fumble in that game, but they've had struggles getting to the quarterback and affecting him. At times, they've had struggles stopping the run. How do you minimize
They stopped the run the other day.
But that's like, how do you minimize their possessions? You run the football. I've been trying to tell you that. They don't have the personnel.
You know what that leads to? Yeah, I'm telling you what that leads to. That leads to time-possessing drives, and you get a field goal, and then the other team in the playoffs goes down and gets a touchdown, and you're down 7-3. Then you get a time-possessing drive, and you get a field goal, and they go get a touchdown, and you look up 14-6, see ya.
But the issue is
Can't
they
play
have
that way.
the best short yardage back in all of football in Josh Allen.
They can't play
So
that
when they get to the red zone, he becomes that driving force. Haley, you just talked about it. Didn't he just pass Cam Newton with the most rushing touchdowns from a quarter?
He
becomes the best short yardage running back in the red zone.
If you don't get chunk plays in this league, you're not winning.
Well, they won the other day.
Well,
easily.
that was a Steelers team that's not very good either.
They did win the other day. We will leave it there. You're still leaning on the Bills making it to the
I can't
Super Bowl
believe
at
you
the very
dropped them,
least.
though.
Yeah, I'm still leaning on
Okay.
it.
All right. We will keep it there. Let's talk about the Colts. Also, in what feels like a free fall, we learned that Daniel Jones has been playing with a broken fibula, which is no fun. And we talked on Sunday about what this when Daniel Jones doesn't operate, they lean on Jonathan Taylor. But when Jonathan Taylor's not operating, you kind of get the results that we have seen today. And you mentioned as well, they got to play the Jags twice, and they don't typically beat the Jags at home, which is where Sunday's game is.
Yeah, their schedule is tough. I mean, they
Really
have to play the Texans too. They play the
Seahawks.
I think the 49ers
and
too.
the 49ers.
Yeah.
I mean, their schedule's brutal. But more than that, this was a team, remember early in the year, greatest show on turf. They were comparing them to the Rams. How many points have they scored in the last 3 games? I think
Really
the high is 20.
Correct.
And that's not good enough. And I think what they need to do is get back to being Jonathan Taylor, pound the football, pound the football, pound the football. That's what they have to get back to. And when you go to Jacksonville, you know what? Jacksonville leads the league in run defense, which is surprising to a lot of people. They're number one in run defense. So can they stop the run? That's going to be the key this week. But I think the Colts are in a lot of trouble, to be honest with you. No, by the way, the defense, not the same without Buckner. When Buckner's not on the field, the defense is totally different.
And that's literally where I was going to go, P. And me, you had this discussion earlier. I was hoping that he would be back, but like you said, with a neck, you just never know. And that defense has not been the same. And not only that, they lose Sauce Gardner, and we don't know for how long, right?
At least a month.
I'm thinking the same thing. At least I know they're trying to downplay it, but I think it's at least a month. So you talked about the games they have: 2 versus Jags. They have the Texans, 49ers, and Seahawks. Those are all playoff contending teams right now. And you look at it like the trajectory arrow is kind of going down for them. And you talked about them leading on Jonathan Taylor. Me and you, Pete, we've said it in the losses. That's been the common denominator. They haven't gotten him the ball enough. And even in this last game, they didn't lean on him until the fourth quarter, but it was kind of a little bit too late. Daniel Jones gave you everything he could, right? You could tell he was immobile, could not really run, but you have to start getting Jonathan Taylor going early. He needs to see 25 to 30 touches. I'm talking about between run and pass, and he's the best screen back in the league. Get him at least 4 or 5 screens a game because he is so dynamic in the open field. But I do believe that they are in trouble just because of what you said. The injury bug has hit them at the absolute worst time.
He ran the ball once last week. Daniel Jones.
Well, Daniel, that's because he's a broken fibula,
somebody.
and that's a problem. That has to change your play calling when your quarterback has a broken fibula. There is a reason that quarterbacks don't usually try to play through these injuries, and Daniel Jones' inability to run changes what they do on offense, because if a defense has to respect Jones, that's going to open things up with Jonathan Taylor. But now if you're Jacksonville, if you're Seattle, San Francisco, any of these teams coming up on Indy's schedule, you just go all in on stopping Jonathan Taylor and dare the guy with the broken fibula to beat you. And these are very good defenses. And I think if you're the Colts, you have to be staring at your schedule and be thinking, if we can sweep Jacksonville, that is our route to the playoffs. Because, like you guys said, this is a brutal, brutal schedule in their final 5 games.
The only thing is, me and Pete talked about that. They rarely ever win in Jacksonville. And that's
2014 is the last time they won there.
Yeah.
And honestly, to me, with Daniel Jones being hurt, they need to start pushing the ball down with Alec Pierce just to open up the defense. He's been one of the bright spots on offense as far as his catch radius down the field.
Free agent, baby.
He's gonna get paid, but they need to start pushing the ball down just so the defense respects that and they can open it up for the run game.
Colts have the toughest strength of schedule remaining games against the Seahawks, the Niners, the Jags twice, and of course the Texans in there as well. Hey, come hang out with us every Sunday, 8:20 Eastern on Game Day Recap. Now that I've got the little birdie in my ear of Pete Prisco taking his shirt off, I definitely pushing for that.
Come on, Pete.
We've made him eat paper with hot sauce on it before, so
I did do that.
Anything is possible with our Pete Prisco. All right, got to hit a break here on CBS Sports HQ. When we come back, if the playoffs started tonight, the Detroit Lions would be left out of the picture. They got a pivotal game on Thursday against my Cowboys, where our Pete Prisco has them ranked ahead of Week 14. Continuing to work through Pete Prisco's NFL Power Rankings presented by Geico. It feels good to Geico. I don't know how good it feels if you are on either of these scales.
Well, the one is, you know what the other one is?
I don't know, Jim. That's our ode to Tony Romo. What's the inside joke with Jeff Fisher here, the mid?
He was always like, the joke was he was a mid coach. He was always 500. The guy did go to a Super Bowl. He did go to a Super Bowl and was within a whisker of winning it, too, in case anybody's wondering.
Literally.
All right, so obviously we've got some teams maybe hoping to move up Pete Prisco's power rankings, but as it stands, we're going to start with the Lions, who come in at number 15. They've got a big test against my Cowboys on Thursday. I have heard multiple people in this building say you don't want to see the Cowboys right now. You don't want to see the Cowboys in the playoffs. Right. I just want to see them get successful for the rest of the year before I get too excited. But Pete, talk to me about the Lions here, because all season long we've kind of been waiting for them to take that next big jump and be the team that we expected them to be.
Well, Dan Campbell doesn't help him any with his going for it all the time. I mean, what was they down 10 in that game the other night? Kick a field goal. You make it a one-score game. I just don't get the rationale. It made no sense to me. But they have issues on defense that's showing up in a big way. I mean, Jordan Love did whatever he wanted to do. You know, and what do we always say about Jordan Love? Well, he doesn't have his tight end, who's the big weapon. He doesn't have Jaden Reed, who's another weapon. So what he lights him up for 4 touchdown passes.
Was big.
That's a concern. Yeah. That's a big concern defensively and offensively. I thought they would put up a ton of points too, and they weren't as good on offense.
Well, Amon-Ra got hurt on the second drive of the game.
And that's a major injury issue as well. So, look, and Goff looked ordinary. And when your quarterback's playing ordinary and your defense isn't good, that's not a bad combination. This is a great spot for the Cowboys this week. And by the way, I love where they're heading.
Pete, I am surprised you didn't drop the Lions to last place because you are the president of the Take the Points fan club, and so he didn't take the points. You got to take that field goal.
I rip him on a regular basis. He knows every day.
I love aggressiveness. I'm all for the analytical plays, but there is a fine line between being analytical and just being dumb, and it feels like the Lions crossed into it on Thanksgiving.
Go ahead, say it. He was dumb.
I just said there's a fine line.
You're scared of Dan Campbell. You're scared of Dan Campbell.
I said he crossed into it. He crossed into it.
He was dumb that night. I'll say it.
If your option is to get the guarantee way to cut it down to one score, you have to absolutely do that. And it does feel like the Lions are in trouble. It's not just this Cowboys game. They play the Rams after that. Their schedule doesn't get any easier, but that's even if they get by Dallas. And one thing that the Lions have to do to win games is run the ball. We've seen what happens when you squarely put the offense on Jared Goff's shoulders, and I just don't think that Goff is going to be able to carry the team at all because they don't have Sam Laporta. We don't know what Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to look like if he even plays Thursday, when it's looking like he's not going to. So really, you have to rely on Jahmyr Gibbs. You have to rely on David Montgomery. But with Quinn Williams, the Cowboys' defense just looks
in or out for the Lions.
They're out, and that's tough for me because I picked them as the NFC North champ. And when you look at it, you talked about the Breech. Even if they win this game, they still got at the Bears, and people have always said, Jared Goff, inclement weather, it's tough. It's going to be really cold at the beginning of January. And they have to play at the Rams. Like, those are two tough games. And when you look at it, Pete brought up a good point. The defense, like, we were applauding this defense earlier in the year because I thought Calvin Shepard was doing a masterful job with all the injuries. But there's only so much you can bear with those type of injuries, right? And now they lose Terrion Arnold for the rest of the year, who's going to have shoulder surgery. Like, you can only put in backups for so long before the levee gets heavy and overflows with water. Right now, it looks like Kirby Joseph could make his return, which could be a boost, but we don't know where he's at because he's missed the last couple games. Where is he going to be conditioning-wise, right? Where is he going to be health-wise? That's a big concern as well. I just think if you don't have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're not going to be able to keep up with the Cowboys scoring-wise. And that's the biggest concern for the Lions right now, right? We're so used to them outscoring everybody. They always had, like, this explosive offense. Well, right now, to Pete's point, they haven't been as explosive the last couple weeks. They got to get Jahmyr Gibbs going again. We saw David Montgomery give them a little bit boost. But what Amon-Ra St. Brown provides for Jared Goff, that comfort, right? That comfortability.
Chain mover.
That safety blanket. He's a third down assassin. Not having that hurts you versus a team like the Cowboys that can score with anybody.
I got goosebumps waiting on that. You guys are hyping me up. I'll be at our Christmas party with the game on our phone. The Lions are also going to take on the Steelers in Week 16. No one, and I mean no one, had a better Aaron Rodgers impression than this guy over here on Sunday, making fun of Aaron Rodgers on the side.
Slumped over like an old man. Broken nose, broken hand, broken wrist.
It was tough, guys. We have seen that photo of Aaron Rodgers all over the internet, to your point, the broken nose, all the thing. They come in at number 20 here on your power rankings, Pete, but I have so much concern, especially when we saw what they were not able to do against the Bills earlier this week. I mean, obviously they come in at number 20, but for the rest of the season, concern level for the Steelers.
Major. And it's not just the run defense was terrible, and the defense has been a problem. We've talked about that all year. Age and money isn't a great combination on your defense, and they're the highest paid defense, and they have a lot of age on that defense, and it shows up. They're not very good right now, and they got pushed around. But the offensive side of the ball, you have Rodgers coming out after the game, calling out guys for running the wrong route.
That guy, DK Metcalf.
I mean, him, but Jonnu Smith, he called him out too. I mean, the bottom line is this thing is fraying. And the question becomes, is Mike Tomlin in trouble? The Steelers don't fire coaches, so I don't think he is. But this thing is coming apart.
That would be the most Steelers thing ever for this team to finally have that streak end of winning records. They go 8-9 and still win the division. And they're like, you know what? Let's give Coach Tomlin a 5-year extension because he just won the division. But as you said, Pete, stopping the run is an issue right now. And when you look at the rest of their schedule, that is not something you want to be struggling with. They have Derrick Henry on Sunday. They have Devon Achane after that. They have Jahmyr Gibbs after that, and then play the Browns. Maybe you win that game. And then, like you just said, Leger, they play the Ravens twice. And they end the season with Derrick Henry. So if you can't stop the run, you're going to have a hard time winning any of those games.
There's so much to decipher with this team. First and foremost, I'm glad you brought that up, Pete, because that was my concern. Like, this is the highest paid defense in football, but you would never know it by turning on the tape. They just don't play to that steel curtain level that everybody assumes they're going to play at. And I'm looking at defensive coordinator Terrell Austin. Like, something needs to change. Now, again, you did bring in some veteran players. You thought you guys were going to make one more, ride at this. You brought in Aaron Rodgers, who's an older quarterback. You thought that you had the subsequent pieces. But they just, like you said, Pete, they look old at times. And then when you get bludgeoned in the run game, you have to look yourself in the mirror. That's not a technique thing. That's a want-to thing. And I didn't see them want to stop the run. And for a team like the Buffalo Bills that didn't have their starting offensive tackle, there's no excuse for that at all. No excuse. And then on the offensive side, this reminds me of what I saw in New York last year. Do you guys remember when Aaron Rodgers called out Mike Williams about the red line and how that team started to peel apart after that? This reminds me so to Pete's point, is this the beginning of the end, or where things start to go left for the Steelers? Because we always had a saying in the locker room, like, you can talk to me off of the cameras, right? Handle business inside. We always say handle things internally. Now, if I continue to mess up, then I don't mind you going out there and saying that, because you've already had a man-to-man conversation with me. But for you to do that to Jonnu Smith and then to kind of like belittle it afterwards and say, well, he's a professional guy, he'll get it done. And then he also mentioned something about guys potentially showing up or not showing up. That means, like, why are you doing that in front of the media? Why not have that conversation in the locker room?
Yeah, I was going to say, because he's ready to go.
I think that shows things are starting to unravel there. So it's just like, people were wondering, would this marriage with Rodgers and Tomlin work because of what happened in New York? This is beginning to look like how it looked in New York. And if that is the case, it doesn't look or bode well for the Steelers.
What do they do well? And on either side of the ball, what do the Steelers do well?
Take the ball away, that's about it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they somehow beat the Patriots and the Colts this season.
Amazing.
They've got some interesting
They can take the ball away, that's why.
Yeah, man, that race for the division
5 times
is gonna
against the
be
Patriots,
crazy.
they took it away.
Okay, well, they've got some redeeming qualities, but not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough, it seems. Guys, so much fun. Want to leave you guys at home with the bottom 2 tiers in Pete Prisco's Power Rankings.
We made it out the dumpster fire.
Look at the Jets.
I moved you up just
They
for you.
go from dumpster fire to down bad. They are moving up the chain. Don't know how well that bodes for draft order coming up, but Aaron Glenn's not thinking about that. And, of course, 3 of the teams that have been eliminated from the postseason there in the dumpster fire category.